Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of our Open Mic program. And we do have Congressman French Hill with us right now, who was recognized recently by the President of the United States as being one of the top financial guys in the nation right here in Arkansas.
Bob, it's great to be with you. It was a special day at the White House last week when President Trump swore in Kevin Warsh, our new Federal Reserve chair. It's going to be a new day at the Fed with a new leader who I think will be an excellent chairman of the Fed. And I was surprised by President Trump's shout out of me in the group. Proud to be there and proud to be working with him on policies that I think make all of our families have a better economic future.
You know, when you look at the president, a lot of people see the media, and really we've got into where you even touched up based on your speech today about AI, where AI is just regenerating, and it's clickbait, and it's just making people angry at anything the president says. It doesn't matter what it is. But really, most that I've talked to feel like he kind of runs it like a business, kind of like you would run a bank.
He really does do his work daily, 7 days a week in the Oval Office as if it were a business. He's got projects he's trying to get done. He wants to lower regulations costs so it's easier to start a small business. He's proud of the work we did last year to cut taxes for American families. 9 out of 10 Arkansas families can use the standard deduction. If you had no tax on Social Security, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, a lot of those American families saw much bigger tax refunds this year, all because of President Trump's leadership in the House and Senate voting to do that last year. So regulatory cost reductions, tax reductions, this lets Americans keep more of their own money and do their own business. And now I'm working with him to try to get a housing bill passed.
Yeah, you got that. That was amazing. It's probably one of the greatest votes in this political environment ever.
396 people voted for my housing bill out of the 435 people in the House. Every Democrat voted for it. It is a center-right bill that we attracted a lot of Democratic support for. And that's the way the system is supposed to work. I told the president, this is what people are looking for. They expect Congress to do things that help the American people. And every once in a while, lightning strikes, and it's truly a bipartisan effort.
That's got to make you feel good. I mean, one thing we do say it's partisan, and it seems like everything. If you say it's white, they're going to say it's pink. If, it goes on. But do you think this may be a crack in the system that we're going to see some light and some working together?
Well, I do see people working together every week in Congress, including working with President Trump. But it's selective, and it's not across the board, of course. And the media, in my judgment, always attempts to find the things where there is disagreement and exacerbate the topic by exaggerating those differences. And they sort of ignore some of these bipartisan success stories. And when I say bipartisan, it's not a sellout to one side or the other. It's truly center-right policy that helps Americans that are just supported by both political parties. We ought to think that's a positive in our daily work and not be demonized like I see, particularly in social media.
Okay, well, let's talk about the project. What's some of the great things in this bill?
First, it changes the building codes at HUD. And when you do that, you're able to change the building codes across the nation. Some 3,000 zoning boards would be able to update their building codes. What does it do? It allows you to use modular construction techniques. So you can build parts of a house in a warehouse and bring them to a site and assemble them. You can use manufactured housing. And our bill removes the chassis requirement. Going back 60, 70 years ago, to build a manufactured home, you had to put it on a trailer, even if it's never going to be a mobile home, meaning you're going to take it to a site and put it on a foundation. So it adds a huge amount of cost to it. This allows you now to do manufactured housing maybe in an urban area. You could build a quadplex or a duplex of stacked manufactured housing components. That lowers the cost per square foot. It makes it a lot more affordable for families and a lot better for builders who want to try different techniques. That's an example. We allow community development block grant money, which is a HUD program, to be used for infrastructure to build residential. It has not been that before. We allow banks to have a higher percentage in community development investments. We raise the percentage they can have in community development investments. And we have a whole series of community bank reforms because our hometown banks make 6 out of 10 construction loans in this country for houses. So if our banks are healthy, have lower compliance costs, they've got more money to loan to our families who need to build a house.
Getting rid of the red tape. That's basically get the government out of the way and let people do the work.
Big part of it. Some HUD programs required an environmental review, required a Build America plan, required union wages just to build a house. It's a house. It's not a bridge. It's not a federal highway project. So for houses under that program, we waived some of that red tape requirement that just drove up the cost and drove down the availability of housing to normal folks.
What do you see else coming up?
Well, I hope that we can get this Homeland Security funding finished. I'm embarrassed to say that in the House we've passed it 4 full times. We've been fighting with the Senate to get the Homeland Security funding situated to protect our border. Trump's done a great job on the border. We need to make sure that it has the right funding. And Chuck Schumer and the Democrats in the Senate have stopped that. But I hope here in June we're going to finish that work. It's critical to the Homeland Security of our nation. And then we'll be focused on funding FY27. So that's what everybody's turned their attention to.
Okay, when you look at the border, that's something that you talked about when you were talking about the border, we have to clean it up. I mean, it's secure.
It is. When I first ran for Congress, the border was the number one issue. It was wide open, millions of people crossing the border. Millions of those people may be interdicted by one of President Obama or one of President Biden's officers, but they were released into the country on their own recognizance. Now think about that. Millions of people simply released into the country. You can stay in the country until you have a court date. All those people just disappeared into the woodwork of and fabric of our country. And what I want is a secure border with legal immigration, where we want people to come to this country legally. We want people to seek asylum in this country legally. We want to grow our population legally. And that's what President Trump wants, and that's what I've fought for. But President Biden, it was a horrific disappointment what he and Vice President Harris allowed to happen at the border. I think it's a principal reason why President Trump was reelected. I really do, because of the irresponsible border policy. And now here we go. Chuck Schumer, who's the leader of the Democrats in the Senate, U.S. Senate, is right there with we don't need to enforce the border. We don't need to deport illegal criminal aliens and all that stuff. It's crazy.
Americans are ready for the border to be protected. I really do see all polls, both sides.
People want a secure border. They want a legal immigration system. They want people who are in the country committing crimes identified and deported. This is just, common sense, and it was just out of control during Biden. During the first few months of this second Trump administration, we have not had a single illegal alien encounter at the border released into the U.S. Trump's been doing a really good job.
I would say that's probably the best ever.
Certainly the best in my memory. It's a powerful thing. I will say that, despite not managing the border well, Obama still deported millions of people during his 8 years in presidency, more than President Trump has. I don't think that's the conventional wisdom. The point is that if you have a secure border and have the right funding for it, then you can invite people to apply and come into the country legally under the right channels.
We appreciate you taking time and talking with us, keeping us updating on what's going on in D.C. and just something all the time. It seems like it's every day there's a major talk about what's going on in Congress.
Well, I'm proud to represent everybody in your listening area, and I really encourage people, if they ever have a question or need help with a government agency, the IRS, or a new passport, or some immigration challenge that they might be having, just reach out at hill.house.gov. And thanks for having me, Bob.